Join our knowledgeable hosts as they dive into the captivating universe of comic books, movies, TV shows, and pop culture. Get ready for vibrant discussions and a shared enthusiasm for all things superhero and beyond. A comic podcast straight from the panels. This is Beyond the Capes.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Cape podcast. With us today is the duo Margie and Matt Kindt. We are here to discuss their new project. Obviously, we know Matt's work with Berserker and Sweet Tooth, and now we got his mom joining the fray, ready to hit the comic book world. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Happy to be here.
All right. So obviously we know a little bit about Matt's journey. We've seen his work. So I guess more for Margie, is this your first to kind of dip into the comic book world, or kind of that side of it?
Well, this side of it, yes. I dipped into the comic book world when I was very young. Little Lulu was my comic book of choice growing up. But this is my first dip into the comic book world as a writer with Matt. And my first book, I've been writing all of my life. I've been writing to publish for at least the last 20 years. But this is my first book, and it's been one of the best years of my life.
Definitely.
She raised two big comic nerds. My brother was collecting comics before me, even.
I guess.
So she's seen comic books since we've been born. They've been coming in and out of the house.
Oh, absolutely. I encouraged it.
We did. None of our books got thrown away.
No.
We got taken to conventions and comic shops. Anyway.
Yeah. Well,
you know all about it.
Yes. Every Mother's Day, there was an annual convention in Kansas City that we went to. And
Yeah. No, it was a little show. We lived just outside Kansas City. It was a little show in a strip mall, but in the basement of the strip mall. And it was just like a handful of dealers. And then Sergio Aragonés was like the guest of honor there. But this is like 1980, mid 80s, I think, And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you were primed. I mean, you had a lot of experience in the comic book timelines. You've seen it all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's seen it all. I don't know why this popped into my head. This is totally random, but we would be going to Kansas City to do grocery shopping or get other stuff, and then my brother and I would beg, take us to the comic shop. That was the closest comic shop. It was like an hour away. So when we were there, it's like, can we go? Please let us go. And then it was always kind of the last thing. So we would be well behaved. I thought it was because we were well behaved. Maybe it was just on the way home. I don't know.
Whatever you have to do for the comics.
Yeah, we would go there. But I remember. Do you remember Death of Superman when that came out? This is a very specific time. But I remember I was like, I just want one. We were like, maybe we should get two because they were in the black poly bag. Yep. So one to open, one to keep. And I was like, how are you my mom? This is amazing.
Well, I bought a few extra and put them way up on my closet shelf too, so that if they opened theirs, we would still have some that were mint, and somehow they.
I think we opened them anyway.
You did. I don't know how you discovered them, but you did.
We were animals.
Yeah, I think luckily I still have one that's still wrapped, and I refuse to open it to this day, and it hurts. I really want to.
I know. Now you don't know what happened.
I misgot the guess. I think something happened. Now, obviously, you said you've been writing for 20 plus years. What was the difference between what you were writing and turning it into kind of comic book writing?
Well, I've always written mostly nonfiction, magazine articles, newspaper articles, things like that, and essays. But when my mother was ill, I took a couple of years to go take care of her. And in such a sad situation as it was, to entertain myself at night, I started writing mysteries, fiction, because it was fun and relaxing and didn't require research or anything very intense. So I did it for fun, and I ended up with about 3 mysteries, pretty much complete. And then after my mother died, I came home and put them on the shelf and forgot all about them. And it wasn't until 20 years later, over dinner, we have a family dinner every Wednesday evening. And Matt and his wife, Charlene, were over. And we always start the evening by talking about what mysteries we're watching on television. Maybe true crime, maybe a court scene, or maybe it's Only Murders in the Building, which we like to compare notes on. I live in a cooperative, very much like the cooperative in Only Murders in the Building, and so it just resonated with us. And
yeah, I recommended it because it takes place in a building like they live in, and I was like, you have to watch this. It's really funny, and then the mystery's good, but also in the unsaid part is like I don't want to watch it with you because you're going to guess the ending. Like my wife does. Charlene's my collaborator and wife. She always guesses the ending to everything, and she's always right. And you do the same thing, and I don't. I just want to watch it and like let it wash over me, and then be surprised at the end. But so it's like definitely don't. I don't want to watch it. But then a few episodes before the end of the season, we come over for dinner, and she's like, "I figured it out." I was like, "Of course she figured it out." And then I was like, "Well, just tell me." I was like, "Tell me," and then your idea for what the twist was in the series was such a good idea. I couldn't believe it. I was like, it never occurred to me. And then in the back of my mind, I was like, I don't know if this show is that smart. Like, so I think if they don't do that twist, if they don't have that idea, then you and I are going to do that idea. We'll write a different story, and we can use that sort of twist or the take you had on something completely different. And so then I'm waiting for the end of the season, and I'm hoping I was like, please don't do this super smart thing. And then they didn't. The show's great. We still love the show. I'm not disparaging the show, but I was so glad they didn't do what your idea was, so we could do this book.
Well, there are lots of good ways to get the mystery.
Yeah.
We just had a different one.
No, it was more than just a twist, though. That's what I liked about it. I feel like it was a twist that changes how you think about everything that came before. And I think that's the part that I liked, is like we could do a book where it's one thing, and then at the end you read it, and then it changes it, the whole thing.
Yeah. So Matt said we should write a book together, and I said, well, I already have 3. It starts at 3 of them. So I pulled them out, and of course you would never recognize Gilt Frame from what I wrote 20 years ago.
Yeah, but no, they were good mysteries, though.
It was a seed that we started. It was a launching.
Yeah,
place.
and I think you kind of picked the one you thought would work, and it had this element of true crime in it too. It was based on The Woman in Black from 1904 World's Fair, which you're an expert in. So. Yeah,
well, there are a couple of historic elements to the book. And one is that the Woman in Black from the 1904 fair does come into it. She was a thief who stole from the fair, huge things like, tens of thousands of dollars worth of items in 1904 money. Multiply that times 40 and you would get today's money. Yeah. And she was never caught. And it was a big deal in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Anyhow, that was really, I think, part of the basis for this story.
Yeah, I like that. So there's a true crime aspect to this. It's set modern day, and it's all fictional mostly, but except for that part.
Well, she existed, and she was a thief at the fair. Other than that, it's fictional.
But it was never solved, right? They never found it.
Never solved. Yeah. No, she was really good.
We solved it.
Yeah.
We solved it. I didn't solve it.
No.
I just drew it
together. No. I think Sam and Mary together. Sam, the great nephew, and his great aunt Mary, they solved it together. They're a team.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's the best kind of mystery, is just that nice little twist at the end, but a little bit of a solution. Now, obviously, writing this together, in comic books, sometimes you just get 2 writers, or a writer and a collaborator, that come together, and they have to kind of quickly form a relationship. For you guys, obviously, you know each other pretty well, obviously. Did that help kind of speed things up or make it more interesting in your guys' writing process with each other?
I would say that it sped things up. First of all, we knew that we could do it. We knew that our personalities and styles were similar enough that we could do this, and it would be a good experience. We set the kitchen table up as a partner table. Matt would be on one side, I would be on the other, and we each took on the persona of one of the characters and role played that out. And sometimes we got to laughing and talking and forgot to write down what we were saying. We missed some of the dialogue, but then went back and captured it again. And so I would just say that it was really a pretty enjoyable, easy, quick experience. I think we only had maybe one serious disagreement.
Yeah, did we? Oh, it was the outfit. The outfit for the thief, the 1904 World's Fair thief. I drew her. It's a comic book, right? So I was like, I'm going to draw her like a comic book thief, you know, like this cool sort of cat mask and whatever. It's too scantily clad is what the note kind of. The note within the note was it's too risque. But it was one of my favorite notes, or the favorite delivery of notes was how you told me to change it, because you didn't tell me to change it. Do you remember what you said?
It was a little bit jarring to see her, because in 1904 a woman wouldn't have even gone outside without a hat. No matter where she was going, she would have to have a hat on when she stepped out the door. So it was a little bit jarring. And I thought, because it is based, that piece of it was based on a real historic person, that the dress should be accurate there, should be, but it's in the right setting. And Matt disagreed with that. And I always defer to Matt, because I feel like he's the one who's been so successful that who am I to tell him what to do?
I have all the power.
He has all the power. But I'm also not one to hold back my opinion. So I said, well, okay, you do what you want. You can do it any way you want to. But if you keep it that way, you'll be wrong.
Yeah, she was like, you can keep it that way, but it'll be wrong. And I'm like, who? It's like I just quietly changed it, so it would be right.
No, you didn't quietly change it. You said,
no, that's true.
You said, show me some pictures.
We don't need to get into all that.
You want proof. And I happen to have between 2,000 and 3,000 original images from glass plate negatives from the fair.
So you sent me like 20 photos.
Of images.
I was like, okay.
Pick one. Just pick one.
It's funny, as I jokingly complain about it, but what's great is to have someone do the research. I don't like I like doing research if it's like accidental. If I'm reading about something, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But if I have to target research or do something like that, I don't like doing it. So it's nice to have
and I love that
background.
piece of it. I like that piece of it.
Awesome. Now, where did the term Gilt Frame come from for this title?
We were writing it. What do you remember a title before that title? I feel like we called it something else.
We did. We just needed a working title. I've forgotten what we called it. It's written. It's in our box of notes.
Yeah.
We did have a different name for it initially.
But I think you sent. I remember you. This is how I remember it. I remember you sending a few ideas, and I can't remember what the other ones were, because Gilt Frame was one. I was like, oh, that's it. Like sometimes titles are super easy. Sometimes you just work forever, and then you're never happy with it. But this one, when you sent it, I was like, oh, that's it, because Gilt. For the gold frames, guilt for guilty, frames for being framed. Like it had like triple meaning.
Chair frames, picture frames,
chair frames,
and people being framed.
It literally applied to every single element in the book. Is maybe one of the easiest, best titles I've ever had on a book.
Oh, well, that is nice.
Well done.
That's nice of you. Thank you. Well, it was collaborative.
Awesome. It's fell in the lap even better. Now, what's also best is from what I've read for Sam and Mary. Obviously, that's the duo. He was an orphaned 20-year-old who his aunt adopted him after his parents. I didn't hear if they were killed or if it was just an accident. We'll have to wait till we get the book to be for sure on that. But it says that you guys kind of wrote yourself into these personas. Is that kind of how you were hoping the story to go, like kind of continuing your relationship in the real world to this comic book between the two?
Yeah, I think it happened naturally because I think it was kind of it's fun to have like an odd couple, someone young, someone old, someone male, someone female, like all of that stuff made sense. And then it just made sense it made it easier to collaborate, where you're writing your character, I'm writing my character, and then we sort of bounce them off each other to come up with the interactions. Like we had the plot and we had all the idea for the story. So then it's a matter of how do we navigate these characters through it, which is that always ends up being the fun part. It's like role playing. I've said this before. I learned this working on Berserker with Keanu Reeves, who would act out all of his the character B in that one. He would just act it out, or you know what I mean? And I'd be writing his down, and I'd be like, okay, and I would be operating the other characters, So I'm playing whatever, Diane, all the other ones, and then so I took that experience to this one, and I was like, I know this works. we can do it, and it was so much fun. But it was I was just different but the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, when writing this book, obviously, Margie, you said you wrote a lot of nonfiction, and obviously we know your work with Berserker and Sweet Tooth. This is obviously a little bit different for both of you, but as mysteries, I'm assuming, as you've talked about it kind of fondly before, mysteries have always been kind of like a deep core passion, or kind of what you've loved.
Exactly. I would just say that when I was about 11 years old, I was digging around in my grandmother's attic looking for something to read, and I came across The Speckled Band by Arthur Conan Doyle. And I was young enough that I could read, well, I guess old enough that I could read the book, but young enough that it scared me witless. And I thought, I like this. I could take more of this. And I love a good story, whether it's nonfiction or fiction. And so I grew up loving the genre. And then when I had two little boys, it just seemed natural to, I guess, pass that on to them, create mysteries, made life fun, made life exciting. The boys created a few mysteries for me. I went into the...
We committed quite a few crimes.
Quite a few, yeah. But I think you're usually pretty busted. One Saturday morning, I was cleaning their bathroom. They had their own bathroom. And there was gravel all over the windowsill in their bathroom. And I just dusted it off and kept on cleaning. But a few minutes later, I thought, that was gravel. How did gravel get in the boys' bed on the windowsill? And so I had to investigate that. And that was one of our real.
So you targeted the weak link, which is me.
Yeah, yes.
I get, and it wasn't me. So I felt I was innocent, but I was also I was the lookout for my brother. So my brother completely got busted.
Yes. His brother had gone out the window to walk on the roof of the garage. This was a second floor window, and so Matt was the one I could shake down the easiest.
Yeah. I learned two lessons. I learned from that was, one is don't. I'm a terrible liar, and don't lie to your mom.
Yeah. And then we made mysteries too. I like to show this shoe. I no matter where I move, this goes with me. This was their father's shoe, and it was a leather sole. And we would take things like this and show them to each other. You would show me things, I would show you things, and I would say, okay, how did the leather sole get worn in that pattern? And so we were always doing mysteries like that. And the answer, Matt, do you remember the?
Yeah, brake. It's a brake pedal. It's the shape of the brake pedal.
From using the brake pedal.
What's funny is that's so old that when you brought it out again, it stumped me all over again. I was like, how can I not figure that out? It reminds me of. It really, growing up in a lot of ways reminds me of Psych, the TV show. Have you ever seen Psych? Do you remember when he would sit in the restaurant or whatever with his dad, and his dad be like, okay, who, without looking, blah 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 blah, tell me what hat was he wearing, what's all this stuff. He was training him to be Sherlock Holmes. I felt like you were training us to be Sherlock Holmes, except that I was no good at it.
That's not true.
But I like the storytelling part. I like the ideas. So I don't have to be. The thing is, I didn't go into the FBI, but I can make a story about it. So.
Perfect.
So it became pretty natural.
Yeah.
And now you've got a whole story on it. Now, obviously, you guys put a lot of work into the script of this and getting the plot, and you guys already kind of had a bit of a head start. Was it easy? Did you guys have a lot of notes then on how you wanted the characters to look as you were collaborating with the artist, or did you kind of give them just like basic parameters? Here's some reference points, but kind of put your imagination into it.
Oh, I drew it all. So we wrote
Okay.
it together, and then I drew everything. But yeah, there were notes to the artist.
There
You
is
know,
a couple.
my notes to myself were like, draw better. Why can't? And then I think you had specific ideas for outfits for your character. So again, I was like, send me pictures. Just send me pictures. It's not a problem.
So I would send him pictures like I thought that I knew how great Aunt Mary would dress, and she was much too plain. She would have had just a little more fancy edge to her, and I would send Matt pictures, and he would say that would all get lost. When you shrink down the picture, all that detail would get lost, which was true.
Well, yeah, your shoe. What's funny is like you're specific about your shoes in some spots. I was like, we're never. And then I started feeling like, am I Rob Liefeld? I don't ever draw feet because there were no shoes anywhere. And but then there are at the beginning and end. It bookends with like close-ups of shoes, so they're in there.
Well, and there were things that you didn't know, like great Aunt Mary would go places, and she wouldn't have gone without her handbag. And where was the handbag? so he got a few suggestions.
This is what I do. I like because your Mary in the book is it's very true to character.
Oh.
It's like probably the most in depth. And then the other character, it's basically like a younger version of me, so that was really easy. It's like I just picked all my worst ideas that I had when I was 20 and then put them into this character,
And you weren't orphan. You weren't an orphan.
I'm not orphan, but we had to write out everybody real in our real life. I had to write them out somehow because they weren't in the book. There's so many characters. And so we got rid of everybody.
Absolutely, yeah.
Fictionally.
More than one person dies,
Yeah.
but that's life.
Yep. Now, Margie, obviously, this is, as we discussed, this is new. Is there something that surprised you about this process that you didn't think was maybe as easy or as complicated in this process that kind of took you for a loop?
Oh yes. I guess because I love to write and I love to play with words and love to work on phrasing, description, things like that. I was shocked at how few words I got in the graphic novel. I trimmed down a lot of the dialogue, and Matt took a look at it and said, I don't think you realize how few words you are going to get. So I trimmed it, and I love to trim. I love to write tightly, but this was pretty shocking. And I felt like I'm losing all the beautiful phrases, and I'm losing some of the character development. But then the next surprise was how much of that then was captured in the art. So while I felt like the words weren't there that developed the character, the expression on the character's face was there, or the stance or the gesture was all in the art. So everything that I felt I was losing in words was captured in the art, which is, I guess, what a graphic novel is all about, that collaboration, developing the story and character.
No, it's not just the dialogue either. You're such a good writer, so that you would go through the scripts and there would be such detail even on the scenes and what the room was like, or different. It was almost like it reminded me of, like, you may not get this reference, but that Neil Gaiman or Alan Moore, those scripts they would write, where it's like everything in the room and what the character's thinking, and so you were putting that in there, which is great because it's not on the page a lot of times, or it's just off panel, but it's all all of those details do inform like how I draw it, or like how the mood of the scene, or like what it feels like, or the atmosphere, or it is, in some cases it did all get in there. Like the actual crime scene is ridiculous. It's crazy. So a lot of that did get in there, but no, it's neat. I think it's too bad that in some ways that people can't see what the script was, like the working script with all that, because you put a lot of extra in there.
But I enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed doing it. I knew that I was in parts developed a bit too much, but I enjoyed the writing process, and then it was okay to trim it.
Awesome. Now, you guys have mentioned that this is a graphic novel. Was there a discussion beforehand about doing kind of this like volumes like within a graphic novel, or kind of going to a single issue or series run?
Yeah, I'll get on the soapbox for a second. I'm tired of writing 20-page issues of comics, right? I don't like reading them. Why would I make one? So that's when we went into this, the discussion was, you do sort of think, look, what's the shape of the thing? How big is it? And I purposely said, let's just go into it and let's write the whole thing. And then the shape of it will be dictated by what the story is, which is, I wish all comics should be that way, and we have the luxury with Creator Own, and Dark Horse is really such a great partner for us that we can do that and let the story dictate what it is. So we wrote the whole thing, and then we sort of figured out how to break it, because we wanted to do issues as well, not just release a book, because a book comes and goes and nobody, it's just fun. It's more fun to do issues. We get to do more covers, extra stuff in the back. Issue 1 has, how many pages did you do in the back of issue 1?
Oh, maybe
was it 8? Or
it might have been, I lost track.
There's a huge section in the back of issue 1 that's all a lot of, it's like a collage sort of scrapbook of a lot of like back matter, not how the book was made, back matter that sort of feeds into the story and the true crime part of it. But back to your point, it's like the short answer is we decided on 3 issues, but those 3 issues are 64 pages, then 72 pages, and then 64 pages. So they're big, fat, thick issues, just because it just made sense to put it out that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. I wish more. I love when a book will be a true story and they spend the back of the book kind of giving you the background, either what they based it off of or the story, because I feel like after you've invested that much time in it, you do want to know kind of where the source was drawn. Do you think you would do that in future books as well? Kind of almost give a dossier in the back of how you got to this true crime?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite books is From Hell. And I love what makes that book so great is not just the Jack the Ripper comic book part, but all the notes, footnotes in the back, every panel by panel, page by page. It's so fascinating to see the choices he made. So I think what's different about what we did is the back matter is still within the reality of the story. It doesn't step outside of the story and say, here's what really happened, or here's what, it's all as if everything is real, within the story. So it's, even though a lot of it is real, some of it's fiction, we treat the whole thing as if it's part of the story.
Definitely. So you got three books that we just talked about. Now, do you have plan, like, kind of, is this a wait and see, like just let these 3 come out, kind of get the reception, and then continue to keep writing more mysteries, or maybe introduce a new character or a different detective? Or, I mean, you could create a whole detective universe at this point.
Well, do you want to talk about it's okay to talk about it?
I learned that I need to ask permission before I say this, because Matt was working very hard on the art for issue 1, and I was just sort of biding my time there watching him, and so I started talking about the second book, and I said, oh, Matt, in the second book, and I gave a title, working title for it, and a little bit of a scope and sequence of everything. And he went into shock because he was working very hard on the art for issue 1. And my timing was really poor on that because he wasn't ready to talk about a book 2 when he was working so hard.
What I've learned working with other artists that draw, I never talk about the next thing while they're 20. I was 20 pages into 200 pages. So I was like, and I know it's because your mind just goes.
Yep.
But what was interesting is like when I was done with the art, and then painting is kind of mindless. It's all watercolored, by the way. So
that's
I
awesome.
just finished painting it. But when I got to that part, then I could start thinking about what you said.
You actually brought it up.
Yeah, and I was like, let's talk about, because we had an idea to do like a trilogy. There's a way to do this book or this series where it would be a series of 3 books, and each book sort of changes or shifts what happened in the book before it. Kind of like this series does. Every issue sort of shifts, and then when you get to the twist at the end, that sort of changes everything. And then each book would also do that, like on a bigger scale. So I think we came up with that kind of while we were writing it, and then just sort of wrote it down. And so yeah, it won't be a matter of waiting to see. I think I just assume every book will do well, so I'm assuming this will do well, and we'll do the next two. It's just a matter of can I draw fast enough? I need breaks.
I'll give you the time you need.
Thanks.
Perfect. Now, Margie, obviously you'll have this book out. You'll see it in stores. Obviously Matt's seen his books in stores, and like there's a surreal moment, I think, for many artists and writers. What does it mean to you to walk into an LCS with him and see like your book on the shelf with both of your names?
Well, it's a surreal experience. It will be a surreal experience. It's just something that I really never imagined. I mean, it's the first time I will see my name on a published book, which is quite something to experience, but also to have a collaboration with your son. It just puts it over the top. It's just beyond anything I would never have hoped or dreamt of anything quite so astounding. So
no, I don't want to step on you. Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
No, I was just going to add the surreal is going to happen. We're going to San Diego Comic-Con for your first book signing.
Yeah.
So I can't think of anything more surreal. And let's just start there.
I think I feel like I'm working with the best. It started at the top in going to San Diego Comic-Con. My gosh, I've watched it on TV through the years because I knew Matt was there, read about it in the paper. I never imagined myself there.
If you're going to go there, if you're going to be there, please be on your best behavior. My mom's going to be there.
Oh man! So you never been to San Diego, like you never physically been to the convention.
That's right.
Okay,
but
yeah.
I'm not judgmental. And I know what I'm getting into, and I'm very excited about it. Actually, I mean, Matt came from somewhere, so I had to take a little bit of responsibility for the influence. I think it'll be terrifically exciting. I'm looking for. I made a mask. Made a costume. So.
Perfect. You're gonna fit in well. Now, do you think after this foray, like into comics, if you were not like you finished the trilogy, would you continue trying to maybe pursue different avenues of comics for yourself?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No. The joy of this has been the collaboration with Matt. And that's I would only get into this through his invitation.
Until the money starts rolling in, then you're going to look for another artist that can draw faster.
All of a sudden, she's like, "Sorry, Matt. Chip Zdarsky called. I got to go help."
Yeah. I was like, "Okay, I get it."
So for everyone listening, what can you, like? How would you sum up what Gilt Frame is about for everyone interested, kind of in what we're here for?
You have
the best description.
It's sort of an odd couple. Imagine us going on a trip to Paris and then stumbling into a murder, a crime scene, with a murder, and then the crime scene is we've been calling it it's a locked room murder mystery, but it's unhinged. Somebody kicked in the door, so everybody's a suspect. But it's that plus the true crime layered in, and then us sort of like stumbling through trying to figure out who did it and then solve the crime. And then through the course of the series, you realize we've solved other crimes. There's like at least 2 or 3 that we mentioned by name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is not their first crime scene.
Yeah. So in a way, they don't look like it, but they are master detectives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're well experienced.
Yeah, but they're really competing with a master detective in Paris.
Yeah,
who's never has a case unsolved. So it's kind of a race to see who can solve this first.
Yeah,
there are a few suspects, and none of them have an alibi. And the detective. The French detective likes to play mind games with suspects, and we're suspects.
Yeah, we're also suspects. But we're in competition with the chief inspector, who. It's funny. It wasn't until I was done painting like the last issue, and we're going over lettering and dialogue, and then I was like, I think I think the detective's kind of a jerk. You're like, I don't, but I think you like him.
I do.
I don't like him.
Well, I helped create him. I do like him. He is a little bit self-important. Maybe there's a little bit of arrogance there, but he's very dedicated, very, very interested in justice, and he's good. He never lost a case. So I guess if you have that kind of a record,
yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, then I guess you could be a little bit smug, perhaps.
Get out of here. This is our crime to solve.
Now, with mysteries and writing them, is it easier sometimes to start kind of at the ending you want and then work your way back through the mystery? Or do you guys each kind of have a preference of maybe starting right from the beginning and just laying it step by step?
Yeah, we had the ending. That's how we came up with the whole thing, is we had an idea for an ending. And then
But there were different twists along the way that surprised us. I think, we knew where we were headed, but we didn't realize all the different turns that we would take in order to get there. That was kind of surprising, but also fun because we were being entertained.
Yeah, no, it's
along the way.
I don't think I've ever done a book where I didn't have an ending, and maybe by the time you get done with it, it's a different ending when you get there. But I don't think I ever start one that doesn't have an ending at the beginning, so you have to have some idea what you're doing. I just would be too scared to come up with characters and then set them free. I was like, where do they go? But
yeah, I think you want to know that it's going to work out, that you have an idea.
Yeah.
Now, writing these books, and you obviously have kind of book stories ready to go. Did you ever think that after we finish this, and obviously this is a lot into the future, but is there any type of other stories after writing this, you're like, we could tell a really good, like Western for some, like you just.
Yeah. How about we talked about doing a nonfiction book. I think you like the research and I hate the research, but I like making comics. So I think it's just a matter of picking a subject. I think that would be interesting, and there's not enough graphic novels or comics out there like that, I think. But I'm speaking. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Is that number 4 or?
Yeah, I think that'd be the 4th one. We'd have to do two more mysteries, and then we'd jump into some nonfiction. But the nonfiction would definitely, everything has to have some kind of murder or something in it. So definitely whatever that would be would have a mystery or somebody's got to die.
Well, a mystery doesn't necessarily have to be a murder, does it? Or, but
usually, we'll figure it out later. We'll let you know.
It usually does end up that way.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And it's funny you guys mentioned nonfiction because I was just talking with another writer who's putting out I think it was Kosher Mafia, and he drew a lot of inspiration from the nonfiction rallying of kind of the Jewish army to support like the efforts against World War II. And I said, this is great because nonfiction just looks so good in a comic book form. It's easy to read, and I think it gets you more involved in kind of what the events were. Do you guys each have a nonfiction piece of history that you would prefer to write?
Oh, I never thought about that. Matt, do you?
I have two. I have an idea for you and me.
Oh, okay.
Well, I want to do the history of Hawaii, which we talked about before. And then for you, I want you to do 1904 World's Fair and do there's so many stories in there. To me, the World's Fair is like World War II. There's so many. There's a million stories you could tell about any little part of it. I think that would be interesting. I don't know. So that's me. I'm not going to make that decision for you.
I like. Well, I've done so much, and there's been so much done on the World's Fair. I like the Hawaii part.
Yeah, because then we would have to go there to research.
Some research. I could get an aloha shirt like you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that'd be the best tax write-off. This is for work purposes. I'm afraid we're going to have to stay at this resort, and
you've figured it out. Even just this conversation here has already helped.
Yeah, perfect. All right, we got a plan. It's going to be released soon. Everyone listening, it's coming out soon. So with this book and everything, at the end, like, what does it mean to you? I guess more for you, Matt, having a book with your mom. I mean, we know she's very ecstatic, but just like for you as well on your end. I mean, you've worked with a lot of famous people within the comic book industry, but this one is obviously really personal, and something that will live on. I mean, kind of like the book you did with your mom that just kind of lasts forever.
Yeah, no, what's interesting is I didn't approach it like any other. I approached it like every other book. You know, it's like, well, here's how we do. I figure out like, how are we going to work? What's the workflow? How do we do? What's the story? And then how are we going to do it? How do we get it done? And then you do the work to get it done. But working with you was, it was like it's almost like the analogy I can make is going to San Diego. I went to San Diego Comic-Con for the first time in 2000, 24 years ago. So fun. I was overwhelmed. It was so great. And I had such a great time. And then somewhere in between there, in that 24 years, I just kind of got tired of going there and so many people, and it's a lot of work and it's harder. And but I remember taking a childhood friend of mine, Bill Falls. I don't you remember Bill?
Yeah.
Anyway, he was a character in one of my books, Mind Management, because he's so great. But I remember going with him one year, somewhere in the middle of those 24 years. And then he had such a good time. He was enjoying everything. And I was like, what's wrong? I was like, oh, you kind of take it for granted after a while because you're just in it and you're too close to it. But going to do a thing that I've done a million times with somebody that hasn't done it, and seeing the joy that they're getting out of it, it brings it back to like you doing it for the first time again. So I think doing this book with you was like that for me. It was like, oh, yeah, it is a lot of work. Oh, it is a lot of fun. Oh, and I'm looking forward to every part of it where I used to be, it's just part of the job.
Well, it'll be a different experience this year.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So for everyone listening, I know we talked a little bit off air that FOC has passed, but when can we expect to see this book on the shelves?
Yeah, August 7th is the release date. So go to your local comic shop. And if you can't find it there, email me directly. Just go to my website, mattkindt.com. We'll find one for you. And then if you're going to San Diego, there's going to be a variant cover of issue 1. The whole issue with just a crazy cover that we'll sign for you there if you're at San Diego. And it's an autopsy. The cover is like an autopsy drawing. You know how they have where they detail with so it's blank. It's got the body on there, and we're gonna put all the wounds and all the clues on the cover for everyone.
That will be awesome.
Yeah.
And for everyone listening that is interested in keeping up to date for the future graphic novels that are released for this, where are the best places to find out information about this and what you guys are up to?
If you go to mattkindt.com, if you go there, I'm on all the social medias. And I'm there to be a buffer for my mom who's not on those. So you can't be mean to her.
All right. Good plan. Well, thank you guys for coming on and answering our questions. Gilt Frame in stores August 7th. Be on the lookout, or if you're at San Diego Comic-Con, go find them. We look forward to seeing the mysteries unravel.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks.
It was
Appreciate
a pleasure to talk with you.
Of course. All right, everyone listening, hope you enjoyed this episode. You can find more on where we have our podcast and you're listening from, and on our YouTube page. Everyone, have a good night.